All right, happy Friday evening. You may be wondering why I'm doing a video on a Friday evening. Where's my family, right? Well, Zach took my oldest three camping, and Hazel and I stayed back. Actually, camping is not my favorite thing, but I probably would have gone if we didn't have Hazel. I think trying to get her to sleep in a tent would have just been a nightmare, and keeping her out of the dirt, and it was by water, and yeah. So I decided to stay home, and I love that I can be home alone with Hazel. I just put her down for bed and not feel anxious. I haven't forgotten my past. I haven't forgotten what it was like to live with an eating disorder for so long. So I remember if I was home alone and there was like empty space, oh my gosh, I felt so anxious. I felt so compelled to feel like I had to move that whole time. And I felt so scared that I wasn't going to give myself that permission to eat because no one was around. Um, and it's just so nice now to be able to feel relaxed and actually enjoy like a nice quiet night. I need something to binge watch though. I haven't watched like a good series or like a show that's really captivated, like really like a cliffhanger each episode. So if you know of one, please leave them in the comments. I'd love some suggestions. I have some books I can maybe read that I've been wanting to get to, and I've been just really busy, and then by the time night comes, I'm so tired, and I just kind of like zone out. So I don't know what tonight will bring, but I'm excited about it. Anyhow, I wanted to talk about, and this is a video that could potentially be triggering, but I don't want you to allow it to be. Okay. So I'm going to talk about what is eating and exercise like for me now. I've had a few people ask me that. What's your eating like now, and what do you do for exercise? Did you go back? And I feel like it's like such a taboo thing to talk about when I don't feel like it needs to be. It only will not be triggering though if you listen to what I'm saying and take it in context. Remember, I'm not you. I'm not in recovery. So if you're listening to me, and I'm not going to go into like specifics, but if you're listening to me and like, oh, see, she does that and she can do this, and see, she eats vegetables sometimes, so that means now I need to every day. Or she says she, goes for walks sometimes, and now I need to go for a walk. Like I can just see your brain already going there. And so if it is going to and you feel like you can't control it, just don't watch this video. But for those of you that are like, I actually really want to know, what does it feel like? What is your relationship now and your attitude towards food and exercise? Just to give me some hope. Then that's the purpose of this video. So as far as like my attitude towards food and exercise, just generally, it's just a lot more relaxed. I would say before I recovered, it took up like 99% of my brain space. Was like, when was I going to exercise? What was I going to eat next? What did I just eat? How long do I have to exercise for today? How much do I have to do, lifting wise? How many sets do I have to do of this and that? And how am I going to get through the day because I'm so tired? And all this, like everything was about food and exercise. And now it just consumes like I feel like an appropriate amount of time in my mind, right? So I have to think about like, what am I making for dinner for family? I think about like when it's time to eat a meal, what do I want to eat? Do I want something cold, hot, heavy, light, like savory, sweet, that type of thing. But it's just kind of natural. I'm not like going down a checklist asking myself that stuff. As far as like my attitude towards, or I guess what it feels like now for me, as far as like hunger and fullness, that also just sort of is like, it doesn't feel so chaotic, because before I recovered, it was like I never felt hungry, and then I just felt like overly stuffed. Like I never felt like comfortably hungry or even like stomach growl hungry, and I definitely like never felt full until I was sick. And now I feel like I'll just get like comfortably hungry, and then I'll eat and I'll get like comfortably full. Sometimes I'll eat more and I'll feel kind of uncomfortably full, but there's not like an emotional attachment to that where it's like, oh my gosh, I've got to figure this out tomorrow. I've got to make up for this. I have to change. My workout tomorrow needs to be heavier and more intense. Like those thoughts don't go through my mind anymore. I'm just like, oh, why did I eat so many cookies? Now my stomach hurts. So I think it's just, so just the way I would describe it is just so much more relaxed. And it's similar with exercise. I feel like I do exercise now. People ask this a lot, and unlike some people who go through recovery and then they're like are not interested in any exercise at all, I think that's totally fine. There's not a right or a wrong way to go about exercise once you've recovered. But for me, I'm just like I was before my eating disorder. I was always really active. I loved to play sports. I played, competitive volleyball in college. So for me, it was something that I just grew up loving sports, was pretty competitive. In high school, I started running. I remember taking like lifting classes and thought it was just fascinating, like loved feeling strong. And so for me now, obviously given the circumstance, like I don't go to any gyms. I haven't since before I got pregnant with Hazel. But even then, before COVID, when I was going back to it's like a community gym that we have here, so it's not like a big like commercialized gym atmosphere that you'd imagine. It's like a bunch of like moms showing up after they drop their kids off from school. I would go to that and they do classes, and so like I would never have been able to do that before because I had to have control. To me, the classes weren't intense enough. It would freak the crap out of me if they ended early or if perhaps they started late. And so it was so nice just to be able to like go, just like I had friends in the classes and we could actually talk and laugh through class, and I wasn't like freaking out if I wasn't sweating enough. And so it just was such a stressful thing. I never did it. And then once I recovered, I was like, I'm just that mom that can just like show up and like exercise, and it feels good. It does. Exercise, you have to understand, is not like the devil. It is not a sin to enjoy exercise, but when you're in recovery and it's really affecting your mental health and or perhaps your physical health. Sometimes it's not always that somebody's like physically in a place where they can't, but mentally, because of that compulsion, they can't, and they still have to honor that. It's similar to mental hunger and physical hunger. For some reason, someone thinks like, well, if I'm physically hungry, I can eat, but if I'm mentally hungry, I can't. And it's like, well, if I can physically pass off to be able to exercise, then I should be able to do it even if I'm still struggling mentally. So anyways, that's something to remember if you're listening to this and you're like, well, I'm not even underweight, so I should be exercising. No, if you have a bad relationship with exercise, you need to not be doing it. Sorry for that tangent. So I was going back to those classes and enjoying those, but the difference too is like I remember I would go before I recovered to this big gym where like competitors would work out, like very intense. And I remember in the mornings, I can't even put into words how anxious I felt to get my kids off to school on time so that I could go straight there and get there in time for a class. If it was like a spin class, like that's about the only class that I would take. But if it was like a spin class I was doing, it was like, because I had control over it, right? How intense I could be. So of course that was the class I took. Anyways, I just remember so much stress about getting there in time that I would be screaming at my kids and get in the car. It was just so like, it's such an ugly phase of my life. I hate to talk about it. But it's just so much, I just feel calm. I don't get like before I exercise and kind of like that, like it just has to get done. I actually look forward to it. It's actually like, oh, yay, like I actually have time to do that today. That's awesome. And I don't ever feel like at the end of a workout that I'm just like completely wasted. I don't get myself to that place anymore. Mostly because I don't have a desire to. It's not like I'm not letting myself. It's just like, why? Like, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't have a drive to change my body in that way anymore. So it's nice to not feel like I have that always that overwhelming, compelling feeling to push harder and go more and lift heavier, and just always, it felt like it was never enough before. And now I love that I can just listen to my body and stop when I want to, push myself sometimes harder, sometimes not very hard at all. Take a rest day if I feel like my body needs it, or if I just don't have the time, not feel like that's gonna ruin my day. There's no correlation between like me exercising and me being able to eat more. Or I just remember like every Friday, Zach and I have been going on date nights every Friday for a long time. Obviously tonight we're not, he's camping, but I remember Fridays were so stressful because I knew we would be going out to dinner, and I just had to kill myself in the gym every Friday. I just made it such an intense, freaking long workout so I could go to dinner and feel relaxed. Obviously, I still never did, and I still did all my disordered crap at dinner, right? But that's kind of like what I used to have to experience every single Friday. And now I can honestly tell you the thought doesn't cross my mind. What I'm doing later on, if I'm going out, if I'm not, what are we having for dinner? What did I eat last night? Like those thoughts don't go through my mind anymore. So I'm so grateful that I did all of the work in recovery and rewiring all of that so that I can sit here today and now say that, yeah, I do have a healthy relationship with food and exercise. Do I eat all junk food now? No, I don't. Do I eat crazy amounts of food? No, I don't. I probably more than like the average person, but I don't like only crave highly palatable foods. Sometimes I actually really, truly, genuinely crave fruits and vegetables. They're delicious. I do love them. In recovery, that's not what my body was asking for. And it was really hard for me to accept that, but I'm so glad that I did. And I ate the things that my body was asking for, because through that process, now I feel like I can actually be in tune with what my body's asking for. So I'd say my diet looks pretty generally balanced. I can eat ice cream. In fact, after my family left, I went to the store and I bought Tillamook. I don't know if you have that brand wherever you live, but Tillamook ice cream is spot on, and their cheese is so good. So I bought English toffee ice cream, brought it home, ate some of it right out of the carton, put it back, probably have a little bit more later tonight. And I love that I can just do that and not feel like it's, like stressing me out knowing that ice cream's in there, or feeling guilty because I ate it before dinner, like just that kind of stuff. It just, guys, recovery is worth it. That's all I can say. I always do this. I'm hoping that I'm giving you hope. My intention always with these videos is to leave you feeling uplifted and inspired, and just knowing that it is absolutely possible to fully recover. So hopefully that answers your questions. I was not going to go through my day and tell you exactly what I eat, because I feel like that'd be similar to what I eat in a day. Never going to be helpful. Same thing with exercise. I will not go into details of how long I exercise and that. I think it's more about the attitude towards these things that's important, right? That mental state towards those things. And once you've rewired and you're fully recovered, then you have the freedom to do what it is that you choose, right? The keyword, choose to do, not what you feel like you have to do. So with that being said, wherever you are in your recovery, keep going, trust the process, be patient, stay committed, stay focused, and just know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It does get easier, and it is absolutely worth it. All right, have a wonderful evening. Bye.